Welcome everyone to Between the Chalk Lines. Today we have Jared Tims, a commentator for Talkin Halos. He does all things minor league baseball for Angels. Um, so Jared, tell me, what do you think of this new initiative that Major League Baseball is doing? To bring minor leaguers to the forefront, more or less.
I I love it. A while back, how I kind of got into minor leagues is nobody was reporting on minor league baseball for the longest time, especially the Angels. I think it was just Taylor Blake Ward who me and him talk, I think almost on a daily basis now. But and I was like, you know what, like these guys need a little bit more publicity. They need to get their names out there a lot more. And any way that I can do that, I'd love to do that. So that's what I started, focusing on is the minor leagues. And yeah, this is huge for Major League Baseball to get some of their guys, even if it isn't, the biggest name prospect. Like, I mean, you look at Nolan Shanwell, who will probably maybe play in it, I would assume, maybe not, since he'll probably be a big league camp. We'll see.
Yeah, that's something I
Um,
wanted to get on to too, also. But yeah, we'll
yeah,
see. We'll definitely see.
yeah, even like to get some of the, not as big name, like the World Baseball Classic was huge for a lot of like the minor leaguers. We saw Deshaun Knowles play in it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
some
Great
guys like
run.
that. And yeah, and some guys had some big hits that were minor leaguers that nobody really ever heard about. And we even had guys get minor league contracts off of the World Baseball Classic. So anytime that that Major League Baseball can get their young stars out there, it's going to be huge, and it's going to be great to see all those young stars on a field. Like I've gone to two or three futures games, and I think that's cooler than the All-Star game sometimes. I
I'm
love watching that.
envious.
Yeah, I love it. I have a futures game ball that I caught at a game, and I think it's awesome. So I'm excited to see what they do. I'm excited to see who goes for it, goes to it. I'm hoping that major league teams are open to sending a lot of their top prospects and don't just send some of their low minor league guys and things like that. Like it'd be cool to see Nelson Rada play against some of the top talent and things like that. So
No,
I'm extremely excited. When this came out, it was really cool to see.
definitely. I've already done one of these with a friend of mine that does Chicago sports. So she and I talked about the crosstown rivalry there, the Cubs and the White Sox. But here we're talking about the highway, series, the three-way series between the Angels and Dodgers. So basics is all 30 Major League Baseball teams have to or will assemble a roster of 20 to 25 players. So there's a lot of players that can fill that roster. And like you said, we can get guys from anywhere to Arizona Complex League or Low A, which, Nelson Rada was in Low A last year and High A. Nolan Shanwell went from 20, 30 games in the minors to the major leagues. Uh, so the Angels do have a few names, definitely, that I think are going to be exciting if the Angels decide to put them into this roster of 20 to 25 guys. And I think it's the same on the flip side. Dodgers have some guys in their farm that are pretty exciting, especially left-handed pitcher Jackson Ferris, who they just got from the Cubs in a trade. Um, who would be on the top of your list for the Angels? You think that they have to put in there, or who's going to make it?
I mean, to get back to the Dodgers, I love Jackson Ferris. I wanted the Angels to draft him coming out of high school, by the way. And I get a good look. I get a good look at Dodgers prospects, seeing Rancho Cucamonga play, and seeing Salt Lake always play Oklahoma City. So I'm excited to see what the Dodgers bring because they're going to bring their guys. But
Definitely.
From an Angel standpoint, I want to know what Nelson Rada can do against the top talent. I know that's not fair because he's the number two prospect, soon to be number one prospect in the Angels farm system.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, Caden Dana is another name. We'll see how these teams use pitchers. I'd love to see Caden Dana get his nod there.
Mhm.
Going down. I don't know if I would assume they're not going to send guys like Joshua Lugo, who they just signed. But it'd be really cool to see what 16-year-old, 17-year-old Joshua Lugo can do against some of this
Yeah.
top talent. Um,
Yeah, that would be very interesting.
but
But I
but
mean,
even guys down farther, like I like a guy like Cedric Franco, who not a lot
okay,
of guys know. He can hit triple digits. He did it. He's a two Tommy John survivor guy. He's still
wow,
hitting triple digits. The command isn't quite there yet. So that's a guy that I'm expecting to kind of be like Jose Soriano this year in spring to really light up the radar gun and open some eyes. So yeah, I mean there are so many guys. Adrian Placencia, we saw him in the Arizona Fall League. We saw him do his thing. It's a lot of fun to see him. So Errol Vera, another guy that I'd love to see
yeah, very,
get a shot. You know, that's had some rough luck down in the minors. So um, yeah, I mean, there are so many guys. They signed a kid out of the Angels signed a kid out of Cuba this last year. His name's Jan Carlos, who looks really good. Again, not a lot of guys are going to know who Jan Carlos is, but it's a name to keep an eye on as well. So
okay, definitely. And you're right. I mean, Nelson Rada, he's only 18 years old and he's already got a major league invite. He's
mhm.
going to be playing with the big boys. You know, these 20, 30-year-old guys that just have massive amounts of experience on top of him. Uh, he, I would love to see him manning center field uh, in this, spring breakout game. And for everyone, if you're interested, it's on March 16th at Tempe Diablo Stadium. I'm not getting paid for this. Just want you to know. But yes, I've also had my eye on catcher slash outfielder Alberto Rios. He's a recent draftee by the Angels. What's your take on him? Like,
I
is he going to stick at catcher or is he more of an outfielder slash DH?
That's a great question. I haven't met him, but all the reports coming out of Inland Empire this year, don't look at the stats, don't look at what he did there.
Okay,
I really like the swing. I like the possibility of power. The fact that he can play all over the diamond is a huge plus as well.
definitely.
He's an extremely smart player as well, which was actually something that I don't know if the Angels tried to really capitalize on intelligent players, but they got quite a few intelligent players. Nolan Schanuel's another guy that's extremely smart when it comes to the baseball side of
Very,
things, and obviously, but yeah, I really like Alberto Rios. We'll see where he sticks. I don't know if he's got a for sure spot. I mean, you could put him at a corner outfield spot. I don't think he can place. I don't think he has enough time. We'll see what he can do behind the dish. I've only heard good things about him behind the plate. I don't think he played there too much at Stanford. But I've heard good things coming from inside the Angels org about him behind the dish. And again, don't look at what he did in Inland Empire this year. Adjusting to professional baseball, a wood bat, and all that stuff. We'll see what he does this year. We'll see where he ends up. Hopefully out in IE again, so we get another good look at him.
all right. Sounds fantastic. I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, Stanford didn't give him a ton of playing time from what I read and saw. So this last year was definitely a transition to pro ball and wood bat, like you said. Um, and I also had Keaton Dana on my list of prospects. Um, right-hand pitcher, a lot of strikeouts compared to innings pitched. 89 Ks to only 68 innings at two levels last year. I think he has a chance to be either a starting pitcher or one of those sterile pitchers that they put in during the game because they're going to put in a bunch of arms in that roster. There's going to be like at least 6, 7, 8 guys in the bullpen for the both teams.
Yep.
Because they're not going to be putting all of the load on just one guy or two guys or three guys. Uh, so and it's not the point of this initiative. It's you want to show off what you have. Kind of going back to that point is Dodgers. You said you loved Jackson Ferris. You wanted Angels to draft him. They also have Nick Frasso, right-hand pitcher, who's really good, and he's in top 3 or 4 for the Dodgers prospects. So you have those two guys that I definitely want to see pitch for the Dodgers. This isn't about winning, honestly, for me. This is, we win when we see those prospects take the field as fans. It's not about winning or losing the game. It's about seeing who your team has and what they can do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And back onto the Dodgers side of stuff, like I said, I've seen a lot from the Dodgers, and what they can do. I love a guy like Maddox Bruns, who I think has a chance to be an absolute superstar. And the Dodgers have been able to produce those type of guys. We've got to work on control a little bit.
Okay.
Kendall George, I got a good look at last year. I'm interested to see what they can do with their first rounder from last year. I mean, they just continue to produce. It's insane what the Dodgers can do,
Mm.
um, year in and year out. So yeah, I mean, it'll be a lot of fun to see the Angels, farm system go up against the Dodgers farm system, things like that. So
Definitely, yeah. And as of the latest MLB's top 100 prospects list, Brasso is at 80. And the next side I want to bring up is at 75. Catcher slash first baseman Dalton Rushing. Uh, he's blocked at the major league level. They both have, they have Will Smith, who's a pretty good catcher. He could possibly be a backup for Smith. And they obviously have Freddie Freeman at first base for the next few years. Uh, no one's going to be pushing Freddie Freeman out of that position, I think, for a while. Uh,
Probably, I'd assume probably not. Rushing man, that's Reed Detmer's catcher right there. I think Rushing caught Detmer's in
oh, wow.
college there a little bit. Yeah, so a Louisville guy. So yeah, I like Rushings. I got to see him a couple years ago out in IE. But yeah, it's a name that I guess probably keep an eye on him come July, because there will probably be a lot of teams interested in a catcher that can hit and play defense at the trade deadline when the Dodgers are, 45 games above 500, looking for some help wherever they need help to go win a World Series. So
Yeah, yeah.
that'll probably be a name that might bounce to another team fairly soon. So
Yeah, I was going to say that looks even he's like their number one, number two prospect going into this year, and there's definitely, barring any injuries, definitely teams are going to be asking, calling on Rushing
yep.
for his services. And I mean, just to talk about the Dodgers inside beyond this whole spring breakout, what are your thoughts on their offseason so far? Like how they constructed their team?
Um, I don't know if buying a team is going to do it, but the Dodgers are built a little bit differently than what we've seen in the past from teams that tend to try to buy. I mean, we saw the Padres try to buy a World Series. We
Yeah,
saw
yeah,
the we saw the Angels try to go out and buy a World Series, but the Dodgers have been able to develop really well, right? Like at the end of
definitely.
the day, the Angels at the time weren't very good at development. They go out and they sign, some big names that, you know, you look at Josh Hamilton, and at the time, Josh Hamilton signing made a lot of sense. They were an outfielder away from being a World Series contender, being one of the best,
Yeah,
being one of, if not the best teams in baseball. And now are the Dodgers Shohei Ohtani away from winning World Series? We'll wait and find out. Or Yamamoto away from winning World Series, or Tyler Glasnow away. I mean, all three of those guys are really good, but again, this has nothing to do with the Dodgers. This has got to be their year here. I'm not a huge fan of the six-man rotation. I mean, the Angels have run that out there over
yeah,
the past 6 years, and that's tough to build around. That's tough. I mean, we saw Reed Detmers talking about it on a podcast the other day, and how
yeah, he
tough it
did.
was to pitch around Shohei Ohtani. So Dodgers got to win a World Series this year, or else it's gonna start getting tougher and tougher for them. But I mean, heck, you just never know with the Dodgers at this point.
No, you don't really. You're right about that. Like, truly, the wild card I think is Yoshinobu. We have no idea how that stuff is going to translate from the MPB to MLB. Uh,
Yeah, no,
um,
you've seen it a lot better on the pitching side of things, so I'm not nearly as worried with Yamamoto as I would have been with, say, I forgot the guy the Red Sox signed.
Oh, your desk guy?
Yoshida. Yeah,
No. Oh,
Yoshida
Yoshida.
is the
Yeah.
guy
Okay.
that I'm thinking about. But
Yeah.
yeah, like Kosuke Fukudome, those type of guys who just can't like the hitting just doesn't seem to translate
Mhm.
compared to the hitting side of things. But we'll see. We'll definitely see. I'm very intrigued. He's a smaller guy, throws hard, so
Yeah, I was just gonna say he's
really
like a
excited.
Pedro Martinez of
Yeah.
Japan, they
Yeah.
say. Which I mean isn't a bad comp at all. I mean, if you can pitch like Pedro, then you're in a good path. So from all the names that we've talked about on the Angels side, who do you think is most like? Because I know we haven't talked about Kyron Paris, and there's guys like Levon Soto who have Major League Baseball experience, but they're not quite yet past their rookie. Um, uh, I think they're the rookie limits yet. I know Paris is really close to his limits. Shanwell, as you said, I saw you put on X like 5 games away from it. um, and I don't know if Soto has passed his limits yet, but are those guys that we could all see like put onto this roster? Shanwell, Soto, Paris.
I think it'll come down to the Angels and what they really want to do. I would assume that they'll want to show Nolan Shanwell all they can. A guy like Levon Soto and Kyron Paris even. We'll see. I would assume Kyron will be there. All three of them still have their prospect eligibility as well. They'll all be on prospect lists, probably across the board. You might not see Soto as much as he's probably
No.
fallen out of a lot of prospect talk. But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if we saw all three of them. Or we'll see if the Angels want to really get younger with a roster like this and see how that side of stuff goes.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's like for say the Orioles who just got sold. I doubt that they're gonna put Jackson Holiday on this roster for the game. They're probably gonna have him in the major league camp, obviously getting ready for opening day as their shortstop. Um, Colson Montgomery for the White Sox, same thing. It's really tough. But Shanwell, Paris, Soto are on the edge where they're not quite superstars, um, and you know that they'll be playing every day uh, in 2024. As far as first base goes, Shanwell, do you think it's his to lose?
It definitely seems like it. Ask me again in 14 days and see if the Angels make a move here in the next 14 days. But at the moment, yeah, this is Nolan Shanwell's party. This is his gig at first base. I mean, they got some guys that you can pair with him there. I mean, got a guy like Miguel Sano, Evan White. That if they need to, but those guys aren't on the 40 man either.
No, they're not.
They'd have to move some 40 man around. Brandon Drury can play a little bit of first base as well, so. Um, I at the moment it is definitely his to lose. But then again, we still have 30 days until the first spring training game, or maybe a little bit less than that at this point. So there's a lot of good players still
Yeah,
out there waiting to be signed. So
there are.
we'll see. We'll see.
Definitely. I just feel personally watching this offseason, the way that the Angels are spending. They spent, I think, 95+% of their money on bullpen arms. They're really, really focused. Those were the first two moves that they made. Were Simber and Coleric for bullpen, and they've made more since. The only really big name that they've made for the field is Aaron Hicks, outfielder slash DH. So I don't know if we're gonna get a Blake Snell. Is all I can tell you. Is I very highly doubt that right now that Snell's going to come to Anaheim.
Yeah, we'll see definitely for sure. I don't know if the years are right or if the dollar figure's right, but But I don't know, man. It's late for a lot of these guys not to be signed yet. So
You're
I
right.
don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you got Matt Chapman, Cody Bellinger, Blake Snell. You have a ton of guys that are all stars, Cy Youngs, MVPs, World Series winners that are not on teams. They're just sitting out there in free agency. So, um, I think that's a wrap on all. We really covered the majority. I mean, you know a lot more than I do on the minor league side. I cover the major league side. I watch your podcast, Talking Halos. You do a great job on covering the minor league side. So keep it up, and thank you for coming on Between Chalk Lines to break down the spring breakout, Angels versus Dodgers. Um, is there any shout out you want to make? Any socials? Anybody that you
No,
want to shout out for?
no. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. This anytime I can talk some baseball, love
Yeah,
it. So especially the minor leagues. But yeah, anytime I can talk a little bit of baseball, I'm all for it. If I have to shout myself out, I won't. I'm not going to give my Snapchat or anything like that. But you can follow me
no,
on X at Jared_Tims, and you can check us out talkinhalos.com. All the fun stuff that goes on there. So
yeah.
I'm not shouting out Nate Green. Nate Green's not getting a shout out.
All right. Well, thank you again. Between the Chalk Lines, all baseball talk all the time. Episodes every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. PST, noon Eastern. See you next time.